to Combustible. We're here this morning again talking to Payton Owens.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, Payton.
Oh,
That was like a radio voice.
I know.
Hey.
Payton works for a major metropolitan department here in Atlanta and is a firefighter.
Yes, driver operator.
Driver operator, so he's not a firefighter. And it's been with the department since 2008.
Yes, sir.
You don't have to call me sir. That's going to get annoying.
This is going to get
I'm
ugly.
gonna lose my mind.
This is going to get ugly quick.
Yeah. All right, so why don't you kind of go into some of your backstory, like how'd you get into the fire department?
Got into the fire service by happenstance, maybe. Not something I sought out from like an early age. Better.
Yeah.
But some events in my life led me to want to reevaluate what I was doing with my life and what I was going to do for a career, and started evaluating things. And fire department seemed like the best fit in the things I put into that evaluation of myself, what I wanted to do with my life.
Now, did you know some people that were already in the fire service?
I did. Had several good friends. Had an uncle. He's over. Had a stepfather that was a volunteer. So I had lots of people. My kind of, the South, how the South works. Hey, who's your mama and them? Around where I live, that's how you get to know people. But and coming from a white trash family, kind of works out this way. One of my stepfather's mother's brother-in-law was Jack Gober that worked here, and
Okay. I know that name.
Can I say that? I'm sorry.
You
You
can
already
say
did,
You
so.
can say anything you want.
Didn't think of that. So it was Jack Gober. So just I always had great influences in this service that I kind of could lead to and ask about.
Yeah, I kind of had a similar path. I mean, it wasn't something I always wanted to do, grow up being a firefighter, but I knew somebody who was doing it, and they kind of mentioned it to me, and I was like, I don't know. And then, more I got into it, the more I realized it really fit my personality. It sounds like it fits yours pretty well.
Well,
Maybe not.
no, it depends on
I'm
who
still
you
here,
ask.
so I'm just.
Well, you got in and then you got out.
I did. I got in, got out in 2017. Actually, yesterday was the 2-year anniversary. I did have to leave for a little extensive time. I did FMLA first from about this time in 2017 till about May. I did come back off FMLA for about 2 months. Had some family stuff happen, and when I came back, some problems kind of arose because I was not home all the time, and sat down with my wife and decided it was best to, instead of trying to go on an extensive leave or anything like that, it was just best to resign. Was hoping I would be able to come back. We didn't know if that was going to be a month, a year, 2 years. Ended up being about 6.5 months, and I came back December of 2017.
Do you remember the day that you started the fire service? The month, the day, the year that you started the fire service?
I do.
You do?
So, like, walking into this building, I remember was the 11th, August 11th, 2008. Because I walked in and there were people everywhere.
You had some experience before this, though, right?
Well, yes, over in Morgan County.
Okay.
Do you
It was
remember?
a little
Do
different.
you remember the day you started that?
It was May in 2005.
Are you typically good with dates, or you,
No.
because because it's funny that
No.
you remember the date. The anniversary of the day that something happened is usually a pretty significant process. So to be able to say yesterday was the day that I returned, seems like there's a bunch of information in that between those dates.
Well, yesterday was actually the day that we had left a working fire. It was actually one of our units on fire inside of a storage building, and we had just got back and showered and laid down, and my phone started going off. And it was very odd for my phone to get multiple text messages at 3:30 in the morning. And it was some pretty bad news. Said, you need to come home now. And I got up and went and told my battalion chief I need to leave. And I left and got home to find out that my wife's grandparents had been murdered by a cousin that was a cousin of hers, a grandson of her grandparents that was living in the basement. He had went on about a 7-day drug binge and was just out of his mind and got mad because he couldn't have money for cigarettes. He then murdered my wife's grandparents and hid the bodies in the basement for about 7 days, and we ended up finding out that night.
Wow.
After the local sheriff's office went and did a welfare check. So I needed to be home before my wife woke up. My mother-in-law was texting me and calling me, and I went home and had to wake my wife up and tell her the news. And at the same time, she had some surgery scheduled. She had a complete Achilles tear and had to have that completely shaved off and reattached, and that put her non-weight bearing for 12 weeks. So that was kind of where the FMLA came in, to be at home, take care of her. And then she was also finishing up her master's program, and it was just a lot of work with 2 kids and running a household and grocery shopping and everything for me to be gone for 24 hours every third day. So we made the decision for me to resign because more than just us too, it affected people here. Me not knowing how long I was going to be gone. People put in for chiefs asked for vacations 3 months out. Hey, are you going to be back in March, April, May, June, Payton? I don't know, Chief. That messes up. Can I let this person off for his vacation? So we put that into the consideration on, should I try to do an extensive, leave of absence or just resign? And we felt it was best to just resign, for both parties involved.
You definitely had the reasons, but was it hard walking away?
Yeah, I was pretty tore up.
Well,
inside, yeah. I was maybe a little frustrated outside and a little burnt out.
At least that's what your Facebook posts say, right?
And maybe try to use that to mask a little bit that I didn't care, but I cared.
right. So how long were you out of it?
6 months, 26 days.
Really? I guess I thought it was longer than that. Long enough to
7 months.
long
We
enough
could
to
say
grow that
7
beard.
months. The beard,
Yeah.
it just kind of, it grows fast. Once it gets past that trailer park stage, it just goes.
It was an impressive beard.
So you left maybe a little disgruntled,
Yes,
but you ended up missing it and wanted to come back.
I did.
What about it was it that you missed?
Everything. I miss the smell of the station when I walk in first thing in the morning. I miss the banter with the guys. I miss, sleeping in the bunk room, eating breakfast, eating supper with the crew, running the calls, training, all of it.
Right. And I'd say nowadays, in any department, mine, y'all's, we end up with individuals who get really disgruntled about what's going on in the departments, and it's easy to kind of get caught up in that negativity. So now, having been on both sides of that, you kind of suffered from some of that. You got off the job, you came back to the job. What advice would you give to somebody who's teetering on that brink of a decision they're about to make?
Just sit back and breathe. Just for me, I just kind of have to let stuff go. I kind of sit back and try to just, when I'm here, I try not to think about it. The stuff that can make you maybe a little more disgruntled. Pay time off, why is this not happening? Why is that not happening? And I always, in my mind, think back to that old Nextel commercial, where the firemen are up there and they go into the courtrooms like, hey, we need clean water. Who wants some clean water? And everybody's like, me. Okay, clean water, done. And, in our mind, it should be every decision made at the station level, the battalion level, the county level should be that easy.
Right.
Should be.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Come on now.
So, and, it's what I tell people, just try to look at a few different perspectives. And for me, what I do when I get, start getting a little more disgruntled at stuff and feel like you want to say something, I try to, type it out, delete it, type it out again, delete it, type it out again. And then you're like, all right, this sounds really stupid. And by then I'm usually calm.
That's a great nugget. I hope nobody misses on that. I do the same thing. Write it out.
Yep.
Delete
Write it
it.
out. Read
See if
it.
it's worth writing it again.
Yep.
When you write it, it usually starts to de-escalate as you write it. Eventually, you're like, I'm not. It's not worth it anymore.
For me, and that, and my wife, she just, she's that person that I tell my frustrations to, and she helps me see different perspectives, different angles. And I try to be a little more open. That would be my suggestion to people that are disgruntled, is try to talk to different people, see their point of view, and try to add that into your point of view, and not just be blinded one way. I'm right, you're wrong.
So go ahead. Go ahead.
I think you have a perspective before we move past it that some don't, maybe even a lot don't, which is you didn't take a vacation. You were gone for a pretty good period of time. During that period of time, all the things that you mentioned that you missed, which are the nuances that it's just habitual for us to show up and smell the coffee in the firehouse. What's the odor of the firehouse, the culture of the firehouse, all the things that happen in that house that we go to every third day. You got separated from a period of time. Coming back from that, do you feel that, how long did it take before you found yourself with the button reset going, I'm just as frustrated as I was before, and I'm going through the same things? Did your absence now give you a perspective to go, I appreciate the hell out of this because I know what it's like not to have it, and now it's led to, since you've been back, that kind of helps you along the way? Or do you find yourself where it's like, I just get as frustrated as I used to be again, and that mindset just kind of, you hit the reset button, you're right back to where you started?
So I have not been frustrated like I was when I left until recently. Some old feelings have started creeping back in, and it's just little things. Time off is a big one. I don't ask for a lot of time off. I got approved for a day, and then got a call the evening before my approved day for a class I had been in, registered in for like 6 months. I got a call the night before and was like, hey, your day's been canceled. You need to come in. That kind of is like,
right,
pissed me off. But I sat back and, I thought of why I got called in, and there was very good reasons why. And I don't really want to go into them, but there was reasons why, and I sat back and took those into consideration. I can take this class again. The reason why I needed to come in only happened once, and other people needed off for that reason. And, it wasn't like I got called in because somebody else bumped me and they took a vacation. It was, somebody needed to be home.
It was
with their
legitimate.
family. Yes. So,
So that's just life.
Yes.
Right.
And not that it's always that way where the decision that's being made is, oh, that's a legitimate decision. A lot of times things will happen in the fire service, we all know, where we don't think it's justifiable. Why did I get cheated out of this? Why didn't they do this? They should have done that. They should have done the other. And sometimes it's real complex in the background. But I'm looking at me right now, and I see the frustration building up from what I would perceive as poor decisions, or I'm getting constantly crapped on, and it's just almost like in some period of your career, you're going to experience that. Some people have enough insight, whether through its life experiences or whatever, where you can look at it and go, this is really not that big of a deal and move on, or there's bigger issues out there, and some people will take that and then it'll accumulate it with the next one and the next one, and then you have a catastrophic event that ends up happening later because now you're just absolutely bitter. I always say we're all one gut punch away from being the guy in the recliner that hates the department and doesn't ever want to come in because you let it accumulate. It just seems like through your life experiences and through that hiatus, you would have that, oh, I know what it's like to miss the fire service. And I think some of us don't have that. I know what it's like to miss this, to not have this. And those small details would appear like they can go away a little bit quicker because you know what it's like not to have all the other great stuff.
Yeah, and, I don't want to sound cocky or arrogant. I didn't have to come back. Financially, I didn't have to come back. This as far as the financial side, paycheck, we do just fine without it. And actually, at the time, I still had my small business, which I sold a week ago yesterday.
Well, look
Congratulations.
at you. Our listeners can't see the big smile on your face.
So 9 years I owned my own gym and finally sold it this past a week ago, and super excited about that. But look, this is what my days consisted of. Once my wife got better, May, June-ish, and she was coming out of the boot and started walking around, she could start driving again. Started, kind of getting over the bad thing that happened. And, my days consisted of, like the summer when my kids were out, of waking up and whenever, going to the pool, hanging out with my kids, going to work out whenever I wanted to, check on my coaches that were at the gym. Hey, do you need anything? And just do whatever I wanted all day long. My wife does well, with her job, so she's really the breadwinner. And
other than missing the smell of the fire station, why come back?
So because of what we actually do here, the difference that we make, seeing running lights and sirens somewhere and seeing a mom and their kid, or a dad and their kid, or a family in a car, and just see the kid look up and just smile when they see the fire truck come by. When you walk in a grocery store to pick up supper, and people are like, hey, thank you for what you do. I don't feel like I need that thank you, but it's good that the community knows we're here and that they're appreciative.
Right.
For the elderly person that has no one and they fall and they can't get up, and they push the button and we come out and help them back up. Can it get aggravating when you go to the same house 100 times in a week? Yes, but they don't have anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's us that they turn to. So those are the reasons why I want to be here and do this.
So you said, going back to the thing about easy decisions, and the Nextel and, their decisions. So when there are easy decisions that aren't being made, what do you attribute that to? Because I think you've got perspective. I think you gained perspective coming back. And I think the interesting thing, at least I might be putting words in your mouth, but you said that you felt yourself becoming a little bit frustrated. And I think you have the benefit of having experienced that, walked away, come back, and you now recognize it because of you were able to see where you were, where you got to, you came back. You know what I mean? You're able to see it start to create. You have a self-awareness about it that most people don't have. So where's that perspective?
I don't know. That's a tough answer.
Well, let's go back to the first one. Why, when you see an easy decision that's not being made, why? What do you attribute that to?
easy decision from
Whatever it
being a
is.
station level.
Well, I mean,
Ops
you
guy.
said there are easy decisions. You know, do we want clean water? Yes or no? That kind of stuff. And those are happening within the department. So what do you attribute those to when they don't happen? Poor leadership? Is it? And I
I
mean,
don't know that it's poor leadership. I'm going to put this decision way down here on the priority list because I have other things to worry about.
right. So
I feel like the stuff that would affect us immediately, and that's one thing that I've learned about owning a gym is people love instant gratification. So, you can go out and eat like shit all weekend and come in and work out on Monday, and it's like, oh, cool.
right.
Good. It doesn't matter if you ever lose weight over a period of 3 years, as long as you get that instant gratification of, easy decisions are kind of that easy gratification for us. Hard decisions are the ones that we don't get anything right now, but 3 years from now, they will affect us and help us.
Right. So I've always, I guess where I'm going is that if it's an easy decision and somebody's not making it, there must be a reason. Does that ever enter into it, or is it?
Yeah, they're not making it because
It might not be a reason that you agree with, but there's got to be a reason, right?
And who says it's an easy decision?
well,
From your perspective,
from
it may
my
be.
perspective in
You may
ops,
see that there's
it-
very
it-
little
it
ripples,
is-
but they're forecasting and seeing the ripples going all the way
Right.
across the
From
pond
my
and how that
perspective
works.
in ops, it's an easy decision.
Right.
Letting, and I'll go back to time off. Letting people off should just be an easy decision.
Right.
Should be.
But if it were,
And I think about
we
it-
would do it, right?
I would
Maybe.
hope so.
Well,
Maybe
okay.
not necessarily, because one thing
Maybe.
that we don't take under consideration and just listening to them, when these decisions are being made, you're making an organizational decision that easy or hard decision, we'll leave that alone because that's perception. But one thing's not taken into account is the person that it's affecting has a bunch of stuff going on. How they're going to perceive that is based a lot on what's happening now. So if he's set to go to this training class and the mindset would be, hey, I'm going to go to training to better myself, to better the department, you just roadblock that. That doesn't make any damn sense. Hey, my wife is homesick. I got this going on. I got the other thing going on. A lot of times this stuff is not taken into consideration because you kind of can't. The objectivity of the decision from up top may be, we have this many slots. This is going on, military leave, FMLA, whatever it may be. Boom, you're bumped out. So it would seem like it's a simple decision from down here, and I get it because I'd be looking at it from, hey, I asked for this months ago. I'm doing something that's going to better the department. And to expect that person to stop in their tracks and say, well, let me take a good look at this. We have a department that has, 800 people in it. I'm sure there's sick leave and there's FMLA and there's military leave and there's all these things. No, I'm going, my immediate need right now and what I put in for and what I prepared for, why am I being affected by? So to me, it becomes, it's not a simple thing. Simple decision when you objectify it up top, but no matter how much you objectify that on top of the decisions that are made in the best interest of the organization and all that, I scheduled this 3 months ago.
No, I get
I was
that,
set to
but
go off. So
where I'm going, I guess, is that for you to buy into the idea that if it's a good decision and it's not being made, there must be a reason, requires the individual to trust the people that are making that decision. That there must be a reason why.
Well, you just used the word
Trust. Yeah, I know.
So
And that's a big one.
there's been times in my career where I've left my station and went to the complete opposite other end of the county to fill in for someone because they had to leave because of their kid's baseball game.
Right.
I packed all my stuff up in the middle of the shift, went to a station I'm unfamiliar with, territory I'm unfamiliar with. To get there, nobody eats together. It's a ghost town. Everybody's in their own little hole. Sucked.
Right.
And then there's times where I've really needed off, and I've known there was someone else that could come fill in for my spot and was told no.
So I want to turn that around on you a little bit based on what Pavel just said. And you said you got sent off for a baseball game, and I'm assuming that you meant that it wasn't important. But that might have been the baseball game for that person, for their kid.
I agree.
So it is all that perspective, and it takes a lot of trust.
It's perspective, and I want to go back to the trust thing because it obviously hit a trigger for you, and not necessarily so. I perceived that it hit a trigger. So getting off of the time off detail, because we're using that as an example, but really it could be anything within the organization where you feel a decision has been made, and you just don't trust either the decision makers, which appears to be the case, and a lot of times it's, well, I don't trust that was in the best interest or whatever. There has to be an outlier. There has to be something out there. So as an individual that is not part of your organization, I'm always looking at, hey, I want the trust of the people whom rely on me for good decision making. But I'm also very realistic about the fact that even though you trust me, there's decisions that are going to be made that either I can't explain, and that's just a fact of the job. In other words, I can't go and explain this to everybody. There's things that will prohibit me from giving you a complete explanations. And then there's those that are, hey, let me explain it, but that explanation is just not good enough because it doesn't fit into your priority. So if you were to say, Trosh, here's some things you could do to earn the trust of the people, I hate to use the term below, but the people that report to you or rely on you to make good decisions. Here's some things that our leaders could be doing to earn some trust where we would be not as critical on their decision making. What would you be telling those people? What are you telling those leaders?
From my perspective, like ops is getting more with those informal leaders, and of course we have a command structure here.
Well, the larger the organization, the more.
Right, and a lot of times it's battalion chief comes in and talks to the captain, tells him something, and then the captain comes and tells the crew something. If you have a house that's got 9 people and you have one informal leader, outside the captain, and they don't agree with everything that's going on or what your battalion chief's saying or what's going on at headquarters, most of the time that crew is going to kind of side with that informal leader because that's who they're working with every day. That's who's training them. That's who's in their head.
Sure.
And so then, when that informal leader doesn't agree with something or doesn't like something that everyone else in the station, it doesn't matter if what the battalion chief says is right, that crew is going to follow that informal leader. And so, trying to figure out what's making this informal leader think this way. Talk to me, instead of the people up here talking down to, well, this is the way it is. This is why. Hey, you tell me. All I want to do is listen. You tell me what you think is wrong and, how to fix it. You tell me your plan. I want to hear your plan, and then we'll try to dissect it. And I'll say, well, then we'll kind of go over it together. Do we have time to do that? I mean, no, we got 800 people here.
Right.
Well, Hatch, I'd like to have your opinion on it because you said something in the past, and I agree with it 100%. It is difficult to you talked about leadership and how difficult it was, but necessary to meet the individuals, like individualize people and say, I need to know you and what makes you tick and what works for you, as opposed to just a broad message going, all right, guys, listen, we're not going to have, this is going to take place because of the other. The informal leader, it takes a lot of work from leadership to go, all right, I know how this informal leader works. Let me go influence that person and explain that to him. It's time. It's a commitment, and it's not just a time and commitment of going and sitting down, hey, I'm going to go talk to Payton. He has a lot of influence over the people. It's knowing Payton, because I'm going to go to you and I'm going to go to Hatch, and the discussion is going to be a little bit different. The message will be the same, but the discussion is a little bit different because the personalities are different. And I think sometimes we don't take the time to actually do that. Am I going down the wrong path of what you kind of?
No, I'm just laughing because you just keep on going.
Well, you're not.
Well, I didn't know I had to break in. It was hilarious.
You're waiting to get interrupted?
Yeah, I was just like, wow. I'm just going to go ahead and keep on going. Yeah, I talk about it. It's like playing an individual game of chess with different individuals. Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Shane.
So if I'm playing a game of chess with Payton, I'm going to have a certain strategy, and then I'm one against Pavel is going to be another strategy, and it becomes exhausting because you're doing it all the different. But something I just thought of is does the informal leader do that? Or do they give that big broadcast thing? They're not really thinking about the individuals. That's more of a station officer kind of thing. But the informal leader just says what they think. I mean, they're just broadcasting out their views. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I only care about people at my station. I don't care about the people at the other station. As far as when we're talking about these easy decisions, I care about those decisions being made affecting my guys that I work with on a daily basis. If a decision can be made to help my guys get off more or go to more training, things like that, in my station, the next station over, if they kind of get canceled or pushed off, then oh well.
Right. So that's where it gets
what
into
it is.
There's the brotherhood.
the whole perspective of
They ought to step up like I am,
That's
But
right.
that's
right.
that's exactly what I was talking about, the ripple effects.
Right.
What happens here, as long as it doesn't affect these four walls, I'm good, And that's that changing your thinking from locally to globally of how it's going to work out through the entire department. Would you call yourself an informal leader?
No, sir.
Why not? Wait, why not? Why not?
It's not a moniker you want to give yourself. It should be given to you.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to answer that.
No, I mean it's not something I want to be like. Yeah, I'm the formal leader of my.
Sounds arrogant. Not accusing him. I'm just
No,
saying.
but I mean, it
I
does.
try to
But
take younger guys under my wings. Anything I've learned, I try to pass on. When I see the younger guys doing dumb stuff or making dumb decisions, I try to say, "Hey, I've done that before. This is usually how it turns out. Don't do it."
So, doing that, taking those people under your wing, kind of taking the role of what we may call a senior man or senior firefighter, which is something we all talk about that we really love, but we don't really have a formalized way to teach somebody that. The impact that those individuals have, in my opinion, is so huge because when somebody goes to the station and it's a brand new firefighter, I don't think they think about being the sergeant, or they don't think about being the captain. They think about being that senior person. That's the person they look up to. That's the person. So the impact that individual has is huge. If they're going to come in and they're going to walk around with their boots unzipped, oh man, I want to be just like him. I'm going to unzip my boots. They don't even know why they're doing it. They're just role modeling. They're just doing what you do. And if you think about that, and then when you come in with those negative days or those days when things are really disgruntled and you're pushing it down on those individuals, they're going to do it whether they're disgruntled or not because they just want to be accepted. Oh, yeah, that's right. I don't like that either. I'm not going to do that either. And I think guys don't realize the impact that they have. They just come in and they're just venting to their family, their work family, and they don't realize that those other individuals that don't have the same experiences they have are really just kind of jumping in on the bandwagon, and before you know it, it's got so much momentum you can't stop it.
That's exactly where I was in 2017.
When you left, not when you
yes, when I left. It was
because you came back in 2017 too. Didn't
yes,
you?
same year. There was a lot of people around me that had a lot of that negativity, and I bought right into it and jumped on there with them. Conversations would start, and I would jump right in.
And it's easy to do.
It is.
It really is.
It is so easy to fall in
it
that
feels
trap.
good.
Yeah.
I
We've
mean,
talked
it
about that
does.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to be.
I'm being screwed
Misery
over too.
loves company.
It does.
So you asked the question, informal leadership, and I'll make it real short this time. So,
Don't worry. I do this to everybody.
yeah, all the time. a lot of times that informal leader is the rebel without a cause. And I think that's what makes it difficult sometimes to go, hey, we're asking of the administration or the leadership or however you want to classify that, go talk to the informal leaders. A lot of times these informal leaders are the rebel without a cause that are looking for every reason to go down that negative boat. And that's not all the time, and that's not all of them. But there's a great deal of those that it doesn't matter what you're going to bring to them. There's going to be a negative spin on it, because I agree with you, Bill, that it kind of feels good to be, running against the system. I'm here for the real greater good, the real, the us and all that kind of stuff. And you're not really open to the fact that, there's a greater thing going on. There's a broader system. So a lot of times the rebel without a cause is that informal leader, and it makes it quite difficult to go try to influence
Holy
that
shit,
little bit. Yeah, I was waiting for that. Stop looking at your phone, and I'd stop. I was waiting for you to make eye contact.
Peyton, you don't strike me as a negative person.
I can be.
Well, no, I think we all can be, but you don't strike me as that negative person. So I would assume that there is a constant battle to keep from falling into that trap. Like you said, where you start to feel yourself getting frustrated. And so do you feel like you're staying out of it? And how do you do that?
So yes, I have been that negative person. I do feel like I'm staying out of it. There are times where little things slip in and I try to catch myself. But so there's like a hurricane of thoughts, and I'm trying to narrow them all down from what both of y'all just said.
Should have taken notes again.
Yeah, I should be taking notes. I didn't bring my notepad and stuff this time. All right, so is it okay if I kind of pabel it for a second and just talk?
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
You're the guest.
Oh,
Sorry.
Good.
I only bash on him because he does it all the time.
I'm out.
I'm picking on him, and I shouldn't even be. I'm a
Everybody
guest
else
on his show,
everybody-
and I'm just jumping on the bandwagon.
I'm a guest here.
I just see how easy it is to jump on a bandwagon.
Yep.
It's that
You
easy.
Especially when
just
it's
proved the
negative. I'm
point.
sorry. I let you down that path.
Easy.
I let you down that path. I apologize.
I planned all that out so I could do the bandwagon bit.
Well played.
Good job, man. Well played.
Well played.
Well played. Either
So-
way, it worked, because I'm shutting up.
We
now.
might need to end it right there.
I think we have our episode title too.
All right, so
The bandwagon
It,
with Payton Owens.
it really is easy to jump on that bandwagon. For me, and where I try to constantly change and stay out of it, is how I grew up. I grew up very differently, and I used to think I had like this super, awesome, unique story where I, came from nothing. And so, look, this story happens all the time in America. It happens all the time. People grew up a certain way. They come from bad neighborhoods or rough lifestyles. And look, I'm nothing special. I just decided to make a decision and not be that person anymore. Growing up, I had a crackhead father, and my mom was doing what she could, but she used substance abuse to cope with what she was dealt with. I used to get locked in the trunk of a car, so my dad could take me to the crack house while he goes in and has his fun, and didn't want anybody to know I was there. Just that's the lifestyle I grew up in. Never stayed in one place more than 2 or 3 months. Never made friends. It was constant change. Was bitter about it in my teens, late teens. This bullshit that I had to deal with this growing up. So I did what I knew. I drank and would party. And I woke up one day in my younger 20s like, this is stupid. I don't have to do this. Saw a little sign that says you're a product of your choices, not your circumstances. It hit me really hard. I said, you know what? Everything that is going on in my life and where I am right now, living in this 1-bedroom basement apartment, mad, pissed off because, I'm eating Roman noodles and using the George Foreman to cook everything, it's not because of how I grew up. It's because of the decisions I'm making now. And that's when I decided to, I'm changing. quit drinking, got my act together. Then I was working for a heating and air company in Athens. Did that for 10 years. And the lady that hired me didn't have to hire me. She didn't need anybody. I needed a job. I went to her and asked her, I said, you know, I really need this job. She hired me. Once I decided to kind of quit the partying and get my life together, I told her, I said, I want to go to school. I didn't have a car at the time. I was using Athens, Clark County transit to get to and from work in the mornings and afternoons. And she was like, you know what, I'll help you. I'll help you go to school. And her taking that chance on me when I decided to make that change in my life was the biggest thing to date that has helped me get to where I am today. Her believing in me, saying, I'll help you go to school. If you need to get off a little early, if you need some time off, I'll work with you. And I told her, I said, okay, but it's not in this profession. I don't want to go to school to help you in the future. Do you still have the same answer? And she was like, yes. And that's when I went to EMT school in 2004, so that I already had that knocked out of the way. So when I started applying for fire departments, that was hopefully going to help me get in. And, here I am today. I worked 3 jobs to put my wife through. She started off CNA, went LPN, RN. Now she's a nurse practitioner over in the Athens area. She is head of a mid-level group for a hospitalist group. So we've come a long way. And I think just all that change in my life and never settling and always moving forward kind of has my mind where I am today in the fire service, that it can't stay the same. We have to accept change. We have to accept new people coming in, new decisions. We can't just say no to everything or buck every decision that's passed down. That doesn't mean you have to accept everything that comes down, but you just have to have an open mind. You have to be willing to accept change and willing to make change yourself, and not just sit back and think you're right about everything. I made a lot of bad decisions and realized that I'm not right, and sometimes it takes other people telling me I'm not right and me listening to them. So I don't know, maybe my life experience helps me have a different view of what happens here.
No, I think that's pretty. You also, we've talked before, and your experience running the gym, kind of, I think
dealing with people. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Sold the gym, and I still got a message at 8:34 last night. That's why I sold it.
But you had mentioned you had mentioned before, you had said that you implemented a change where you had moved some trainers around.
Yes, so that was stirring a hornet's nest. I've had the same 5:30 a.m. coach forever, and those 5:30 a.m. people loved them. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to switch it up a little bit, and it went very, very badly.
But your goal was not to stir the hornet's nest.
Oh my gosh!
Right?
Your goal was to help them grow, right?
Yes, my goal was to get my coaches seeing different people and not fall into the pattern of seeing the same people's movement pattern every single day, and start getting lazy and saying, you know what, I watch you work out. I've corrected your movement 1,000 times. If you're going to keep doing the same wrong movement, I'm just whatever. You just do you. So I wanted to put those coaches with new people, and I wanted the people to get new coaches to get different eyes on them. And I did not ask anybody what they thought of this plan. I did not ask my coaches or the people. I had a coaches meeting. I said, hey, starting in 2 days, we are going to be switching the schedule around. And they gave me weird looks.
So wait, hold on. Back up. How long did this idea germinate in your head before you spit it out on the other people?
At least a month.
So you gave this real thought.
Yes.
I think this is a great idea. This is gonna.
Yes.
This will help my instructors. It's gonna help my athletes. It's just
I
an
thought
all
it
around
was
good
going to be
idea.
great.
And when you laid it on them,
And was it a good idea?
Yes.
it was still a good idea.
Still a good
How
idea.
was it received?
For the reasons that I had was a great idea.
So your motives are pure.
Yes.
And
However, it was complete mutiny.
So can you see sometimes how they have pure motives and it turns into chaos?
Yes.
that's where I was going to ask. Like, how do you now, knowing that you know in the fire service now, how does that translate to transfers within us?
And Shane has joined the show.
Sorry, I was late.
He just got here. He was looking at the crows.
No, I mean, you bring up a good point. You had this tremendous idea. You saw things from a different perspective. I want to know now, how does that translate to us in transfers?
Transfers like down the chain or transfers?
No, within
How
the
do you
department, like,
receive
this
when
person
people are moved
Oh.
station to station? You know,
yeah.
and there doesn't seem to be any.
non-promotional transfers?
Doesn't look
How about
like
that?
there's a reason for it. Maybe it's not evident, but
Right. From where I am at my little station on my island, a lot of times it doesn't make sense. I'll see a transfer list. I'm like, why in the hell did you move such and such
right,
over there? It makes no sense at all.
right.
So, yes, you know, I'm sure there's a reason behind it.
I mean, is that the conversation at the station when everybody's turning around looking at a 2 or 3 page transfer list? Is the conversation, what the hell is everybody thinking? Or is somebody, maybe the informal leader, maybe the formal leader, saying, maybe we should trust this? Maybe there is some thought behind this.
I've never heard that.
Just so you know, neither have I.
I was thinking the same thing. Never have I heard somebody go, you know what, guys?
Maybe there's something behind
They're
this.
thinking this through. It's good. It's always been, why the hell are they bringing that guy to our station? Why are they getting this guy out of our station? Why are they sending me over here? And I've only had one person ever give me even an explanation as to what was going on, and it was a poor explanation at that. Not
Because
one-
you thought it was a poor explanation.
because I thought it was a poor
So,
explanation.
Payton,
So,
you moved my trainer. What the hell? I love that trainer.
Yes.
I've been going to
We
that
were so
trainer for
connected.
3 years. I've seen real improvement in my training regimen because of that trainer, and you got rid of him.
Everybody was mad, especially the 5:30 a.m. group, which was my biggest class, or was the biggest group of people. That 5:30 a.m. group is the most sought after class at the gym, so if you're gonna piss off a class, that's probably not the one to do, because that's 30 people every morning. And when you run a small business like that was, 30 people out of 130 members is a pretty big percentage. You don't want to piss off the masses, but I did.
Why don't you want to piss off the masses? What is it going to affect that you're so concerned about? Is it the attitude, how they feel about you? Is it your finances?
Finances.
Thank you very
when
much.
you run a small business, like, that's the first thing. Everybody says, customer service has to be first. Kind of, sort of. You have to pay the bills first. So yes,
We have to
Those
run a fire
are,
department.
Yeah,
I
I was going to go back. Those are what we call financial realities. Remember earlier there was the operational realities, which are the easy ones.
Those
then
are the
there's
easy
the
ones.
financial realities, and then there's the political.
So did anybody quit the gym over this? Did you lose customers?
I did not, because I caved, and 2 weeks later, I put everything back like it was, and
I'm sorry.
And how much?
that's when I found out I really didn't own the gym. My name just wrote the checks to pay the bills. The members actually own the gym.
Well, that's the same thing at the station, right? The captain's not really in charge. It's really the guys.
Depends on how mad your captain gets.
Well.
I've pissed some captains off before and seen that they really are in charge. I've done that a time or two.
there's a business component to what we do that we often don't discuss because it's not pretty. Nobody wants to talk about it. That's where the hard decisions are made. The operational stuff is fantastic. I mean, that can get complicated sometimes, but we can disagree, move on, because that's the fun stuff. You know,
but we'll go ahead and throw the word out there because it's going to come up and probably derail us. Is Kool-Aid. So, Shane said something about, have you ever heard somebody at the station say, "Oh, yeah, maybe I understand why that happened." So
sell out.
If I said that, if at the station we were sitting around breakfast all discussing, there's 9 of us, and everybody was like, "Why in the hell did they move Jimmy Joe Bob over there? That's just so dumb." And I was like, God, maybe they actually had a reason for doing that we don't know about. How much is the Kool-Aid? What's in your coffee? You already got Kool-Aid in your coffee?
I don't disagree with how it would go, but I think you're selling yourself short. I think you are an informal leader in that station, whether you admit it or not. And I do think you have the power to say that. And you'd get some of them to go with you.
Maybe.
And if one of your athletes or one of your coaches would have done that for you in your business, would that have changed?
If one coach, not all of them, just one coach, a particular coach would have been like to that 5:30 group, "Hey guys, this is why Payton did that," things would have went completely
I'm going to
different.
rewind back to where he was in the beginning. If he would have invested, and within that month of thought, you would have said, "Let me go talk to this guy."
Yep.
And got him over, different outcome. If he
Yes.
would have invested in one person, the mindset a lot of times will go to the objectivity of going, "This is a sound decision. This is what we're going to do. This is fantastic." And if you don't have a good group of people around you of confidence that can come to you and say, "Have you thought about bringing this to the 10th man, 11th man, whatever you
10th
call it?
man.
The 10th man, have you thought about bringing it to this person?" Then you're on your own trying to make the best decisions you can for your company, or in the cases for us, for the fire department, versus saying one person that you can influence. My question is that person that you had to influence, that rebel without the cause, the one that was going to give you the most slack, the hardest one, or would it been, no, it's a pretty easy path. I think I could have got him on board.
I definitely could have got him on board. It would have been easy had I sat him down that month before and we discussed things, and because it changed his routine. He's a pretty routine guy. He likes the pattern. And if I'd have sat him down and got input from him and let him feel like, instead of being told this is what you're going to start doing, and him have input on, well, maybe we do this, and maybe we just change it one day a week right now and let me get used to it, and then 2 days. He has huge influence on that. Like, of all the coaches that were at my gym, if 4 of us told this group of people the same thing, "Hey, you need to do something this way," this one coach could walk in and be like, "They're wrong, you just need to do it like this." They'd be like, "Oh, he's right. I love that guy."
Do you think that it's difficult to go to that person because they have more influence than you do as an owner, or it's just it wasn't a thought? And not to put you on the spot, to say, a lot of times it may be that as leadership, I may not want to go to that informal leader because of the fact that it's like, man, I should have more authority and more influence than this person does, and I don't. And they may actually be off course or whatever. Do you find it difficult, or you just didn't even think about it?
It was 100% poor leadership on my part, because my mind was, I run the gym, I sit back. Wow, all he does is coach. He doesn't see a lot of things from my perspective of paying the bills and, seeing how some people can get slack and things like that. And I was like, he doesn't need to be brought in on this conversation, because either way, all he's going to do is coach. It doesn't matter if it's here, here, here. All he's going to do is coach. And I'm trying to do what's best for the gym as a whole. There's no point in me having to bring him in. I'm the owner, and I'm doing what I think is best for him and everybody else. And it was horrible, poor leadership on my part.
I think
as
that
a
could play
business
out
owner.
at any level within the fire department, to if you could actually have the ability to stop in your tracks and go, hey, how can I create the path of least resistance? Who am I going to go influence? Who can I go talk to? How can I do this? Even at a station level, to go, hey, if I talk to this firefighter, because he's the one that had the most influence over this stuff, he may be able to get people on board. So when I go on, I got this alliance going on. And I think that's kind of common practice. A lot of times that doesn't happen because you have the full picture. You're going to make decisions for that full picture. And then even if you still have the authority, which you did, and the ability to stay on track and say, this is the best decision, this is the right thing, you could have just cleared that path ahead of you and brought things to fruition. When, if we look at it now in retrospect, what took place, the message is you took your ownership and you handed it out to them. And now, hey, anytime that a decision is made from up top, if we all band together and we tell them this sucks, we're going to get our way. Where you could have actually taken the time, influenced, set yourself up for success. And I see that happen, whether it's at a station level or up top, a lot of times where we don't take the time to do that. And even though it's the best decision, we have to retract it back because we just didn't take the time to set it up properly for it to be successful. We just thought it was going to be successful because it's the right thing to do. This is the best decision to make.
But should you have to? I mean, at the end of the day, we still are a fire department, and we're a paramilitary organization, and there is a chain of command. And, you know, there's still a lot of old school guys here who believe that do as I say, do as, you know, not as I do. And if I tell you to do something, don't question it. And
well, the only problem
just
with
it.
that, from my perspective, is that it is paramilitary. It's not military. And people will walk away. They don't necessarily, you can't actually just walk away when you're in the military, you know?
Well, you're right. People will walk away, but that same mindset is, you know, you're going to do it this way. I don't have to tell you. If you want to leave, then see you, bye.
Right.
You
And
can't
I don't
do it
think
for
that's
every
right.
situation. I don't think you could do it for every situation. But what I'm saying, or what I take away from this is, did I at least give some thought to the possibility that influencing one individual, sitting down with one individual, is going to bring me the success that I need? At the end of the day, you're trying to get from point A to point B. So I can say we're getting to point B, and that's just the way it's going to be. That's definitely a track. It's get used quite often. But how often do you sit back and go, this is going to take me an extra 5 minutes, but it'll about guarantee that point B to go a lot smoother? I don't know that we do that all the time. There's definitely the executive decisions that have to be made. This is what's going to happen.
Well, I changed my practice. Every decision made, Jim Hole, we always talked about it 2 weeks before any changes or
Right.
implementations took place.
You learned that lesson
With my-
outside of the fire department. A lot of us have learned it inside the fire department with catastrophic bad decisions where we didn't involve those people, I think. I mean, I know I've got mine.
Even with catastrophic decisions, Bill, I know there's those big catastrophic events, but a lot of times the decisions are actually not a catastrophic result. It's just a negative result. It's not a big. It's
Oh, well,
really
no,
in the
I'm not
grand.
saying it impacted anybody's life. It was a inside the station. It was a catastrophic event for my leadership because I screwed it up.
Sure, and we do that, but the difference is when you're in the fire service, at the station. Okay, so somebody doesn't get a day off. Somebody doesn't get to go to this training class. Somebody gets moved. You bitch and moan about that. It happens. What we forget is that it's a bigger system. It hit your pocket. It hit your, even if you didn't need that money, that's your livelihood. That is your business. You made a decision that impacted your business negatively. You felt that on the top as a leader. A lot of times these small decisions that are made don't really make it back up to the top like that. It's not going to affect the business owners, not affecting the chiefs. You piss
They
somebody
don't feel
off.
the ripples.
They don't feel the ripples, you know. So if you want to create a little bit of smoother waters and spend that little bit of time to try to find who that influencer is, it'll just help to smooth the waters. Nobody, I should say, most people are not looking at it from a business standpoint. We don't even like using that word in the fire service. This is not a business. Well, you know what? There's finances involved. There's politics involved. There's internal
It's a whole lot
stakeholders.
more of a
There's external
business than-
stakeholders. So it's not till it really impacts the way it did for you as a business owner that we really get punched and go, uh-oh, here we go. I'll give you an example. The department that loses people, just like we're talking about, we made some decisions, we decided we're going to do this, and they lose a handful of people. Okay, we could afford that. Then you have a department that makes a decision, they lose a bunch of people. Attrition goes through the roof. All of a sudden they're going, uh-oh, we screwed up. Why? Because now it's affecting your business's ability to actually produce and perform. A lot of these small decisions that are made often don't have that ripple effect that come back up. It pisses off at the station. It may even piss off within a few within the battalion, but it's not like what happened to you where the business owner got directly affected. So we don't have that full picture out there. It's just that at the station you affected me and the people around me, and I'm going to influence them. So I'm just going to what you said, which I think is important, is yes, I would try to program myself to take the time to go, can I influence someone or something to let this transition be smoother? You can't always do that, but I don't know that we always put that much thought into it. Sometimes it's just going to be an executive decision because I know this is right.
I think I do end up doing that a little bit. I mean, anytime we're rolling out something important, there's a discussion, at least around me, that, who is it that we have to have on board to make this work? Who has to approve this? And I'm not talking about the people that get to make decisions necessarily. It's the people down at the station level that this affects them, whether it's a vacation policy, whether it's some new training, something like that. It's who do we have to put this past to get them to say, you know what, this is a good idea. I'm not going to make them do it out loud or even bring them up and say, look, I talked to so-and-so. He said this is good. But we did test it to make sure that we weren't that far off base, But the danger there, I think, is that you go to the people that are only going to tell you yes.
Yeah,
you got to make sure you go to the people that are willing to
be honest. I think we do a good job making sure we pick those individuals we know that are going to be honest and critical.
That's your perception.
Yeah.
Hatch, do you feel within that
you might not think that? Even Payton might not believe that when you just said
I'm
that.
curious.
Well,
Hatch,
you're not going to please all the people all the time.
No, but do you feel that within your realm of people that you're pausing, stopping, and taking into consideration what some of those decisions?
Me personally, or
no.
the administration?
Just as an organization, yeah.
Most organizations, no, I don't think they really do. But I always try to talk to firefighters and whatever officers. When I look at it, I equate it back to football. If the quarterback's throwing the pass and the guy, takes his eyes off the ball to look where he's going to run and he drops a pass, do they just write them off? That's a mistake. They move past it. You forget the pass. You'll train on that later on and you move on. But there's so many people that get focused on, well, I didn't get this. I didn't get this day off. And it becomes that line in the sand that they want to fight about day in and day out. It was a mistake. It shouldn't have happened. We got to move on. We got to move on and keep this train moving down the track. But so many people just get caught up in all the things, all the missed opportunities that they've had. And I think it stymies a lot of growth in the department. It stymies a lot of the trust. You have to trust that the administration is trying to make the best decision, and we have to trust that you guys are, running the station the way that it should be run and developing the leaders the way it should be run. Both times, we definitely missed the mark on occasionally, but you still shouldn't just throw that trust out the window.
What happens when the perception is that, that first missed pass, okay, the second missed pass, I was a little bit upset. It seems like you guys are making the same mistake all over again, and you're not actually, hey, where is the disconnect? So sometimes we'll see, yeah, I get it. It happened this time. It happened that time. This is a continual thing. Are you guys even paying attention? When the perception is, no, this is not something we're learning from and move on. You guys need to do something. And there's always the they, right? Because it's never me. It's they need to take action on this because it's a mistake that continues to happen. Because often that's the perception.
I think that's when you get into the Kool-Aid stuff. When there's a continued mistake that keeps happening and you still have people that are buying into it and saying, oh, yeah, it's good. Then that's when people are like, you're definitely drinking the Kool-Aid, man. What's going on with you? I think it's a balancing act between all of it. It's okay to buy into the department and buy into, nobody works for the second best department. Everybody thinks their department's the best.
Yes.
So why would you do anything that would be contrary to that and try to pull away from that? You want to build it up. You want to have good people. You want to train people, station level, even just your station or your shift or whatever it is. there's nothing wrong with being bought into it and stuff like that. It's not necessarily drinking the Kool-Aid. It's thinking globally of like, hey, if I keep this whole thing positive and we keep moving forward, it's not me selling out.
Yeah, we've had this discussion before, but Payton, one of the things that I've had the luxury to see within my career is that within your own house, you'll bring up all the deficiencies. Well, we this, we that. But when you go outside of your house, man, my house has a fresh paint job. It's the nicest house on the block. It's the best. You want to live in my house. So I have this unique opportunity where I get to see that, and I think you're spot on with that. You will complain about things that have to do with your department, all the deficiencies within your department internally. But the picture you put out to the public is totally different.
We're the best.
We are the absolute. You're so proud and so
We fight
bought in.
more fires than anybody.
And then
whatever
then the question comes, man, how do we get that buy-in in your house? How do we get you to go into your house and go, guys, we got an awesome house, man. This is the best. I'm hearing it outside. Rest assured, outside, whether it's social media or coming in contact with somebody, you guys are the best.
Yeah, you're proud to wear that jacket with that patch on your sleeve.
The buckle, the patch, the shirt.
Not the top shirt. They're not wearing that.
No. That is, yeah. But how do we get
It's such
that?
a simple decision. I'm just kidding. That's a whole nother hour-long podcast.
Something more comfortable would be a lot better, like a polo.
Oh, yeah.
So
how do we get it to go, hey, we're bragging outside of
It's
our
such
house.
an
How do
easy
we get
decision who to let off. It's such an easy decision to put the shirt on. I don't know.
I don't know. It's just a shirt.
okay, so hold on to that shirt idea. If you could, there's not an answer to your question, because if you
Holy
if
crap,
you
was there a
could-
question in that?
Yeah, there was.
Hatch doesn't pay attention to anything I say, so you can ignore that.
If you could come up with a system, you'd be a billionaire, because you could sell it to every business out there and get all 800 of their employees to buy into exactly what they're doing.
I'm working on a matrix.
So, the shirt thing, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a whole nother podcast if we start getting into this.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've already gone an hour and 18 minutes.
Fantastic.
So
And I did, 63 minutes of that, Hatch?
Pretty much, yeah.
on like 2 breaths.
Very impressive. Hell of a swimmer you are.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Oh,
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like,
wow.
we should not have gone there either.
Oh.
Jeez. Touchy today.
Well, Payton, thanks for coming out and talking to us.
It's,
I really
it's
enjoyed
always
it.
fun.
Hope that I shared some kind of useful knowledge.
Oh, I think some of it was useful for me, that's for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
So we appreciate you coming on.
Thanks
all
for
of
having
our
me.
listeners can check out our other podcasts on iTunes and Google Play and Amazon, Spotify. Where else are we?
You sound so exasperated by it.
Well, it's a
say-
long list.
Did you say iHeartRadio?
We're on iHeartRadio. We're on all of those things. So check us out. We're also on Twitter, and Hatch printed it out. At Hatch CTP, at Bill CTP, at A Shane CTP, and at Trosh CTP. You can send us an email, info@combustibletopodcast.com. If you got a show idea or a comment, you want to tell us how horrible we are, how great we are, somewhere in the middle. And be sure to check out the website, combustibletopodcast.com. That it?
That's it.
Cool.
All right. Well,
This is awkward. Goodbye.
we'll see Pabel right now. Pabel is terrified of speaking too quickly.
Yeah, you just did it, by the way. You just did it. But
I know. Well, we haven't ended yet.
I feel
So-
like this is my first date, and I'm trying to tell the, walk away from
Yeah.
the door.
I feel that way every time.
See, there we go. We're good.
All right, good.